Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show. I'm your host, Kira Mack. Don't forget to like this video and please do subscribe to the channel. Now, something I'm going to test this week is I'm planning to do a Q&A video. So if you have any questions about Thailand, about the Phuket sandbox, about traveling here, where to go, what to see, retiring in Thailand, working in Thailand, anything Thailand related, leave a question down below in the comments, or you can actually email me at the address that's on the screen now. And what I will do is I will make a video next week and address all your questions in a Q&A forum. So that's just something different maybe to look forward to during the week. Now, getting past all that, it's time to jump straight into today's top stories. Thailand scraps plan for 16-week dose gap on AstraZeneca vaccine. Thailand has abandoned its plan for a 16-week gap dose of the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine and will opt for a shorter interval of 10 to 12 weeks instead, a senior health official said on Friday. The government, which plans to use the AstraZeneca vaccine for most of its inoculations, had sought to reach more people faster by stretching the gap to 16 weeks, beyond the 12-week maximum approved by the EMA. A 16-week interval has not been tested in human trials. But Sapan Mektan, the Public Health Ministry's assistant, told Reuters Thailand Communicable Disease Committee wanted to revert to the previous interval dosage, adding that it could still be extended in the future if necessary. Thailand started its mass COVID immunization campaign last week and has administered 7.2 million doses since February. A royal-owned Thai firm has partnered with AstraZeneca to make its vaccine locally, but has experienced delays, also impacting Taiwan, Malaysia and the Philippines. Health Minister Anatan Sharavakul on Friday said the government would receive 10 million AstraZeneca doses monthly from July until its quota of 61 million doses is met. Thailand has also been using Sinovac's vaccine. The rush for vaccine came as Thailand was hit by its most severe wave of coronavirus infections in April, months before the start of the immunization drive. It has secured 105.5 million doses so far and will procure 50 million more for next year, authorities have said. So what we've got here is the original plan, and what's recommended by AstraZeneca is 10 to 12 weeks between doses, and the Thai authorities decided that they knew more than the manufacturer and other medicine agencies and were trying to drag it out to 16 weeks. Now, it has been shown that AstraZeneca, I think after 10 weeks or so, offers very good protection against the Delta variant. So what's really happened here is they've kind of had to shorten the dosage from what they wanted to put it in at was at 16 weeks between jabs and bring it back down to the 10 to 12 weeks. I doubt really it had much to do with them making the call, but probably AstraZeneca informing them that what they were doing was not correct. A bit of good news for people. Also, they have secured an awful lot of doses, so 105.5 million. So they've ordered now, I think, Pfizer will be coming as part of the government rollout, Johnson & Johnson. Moderna will be brought in but can be sold privately at various hospitals around the country. So it looks like there will be quite a few vaccines around in the next couple of months, and hopefully everybody in the country will at least be able to get their first shot, as soon as possible. New conditions set for reopening. The plan to reopen the country comes with conditions, with a major requirement that only provinces that have been vaccinated 70% of their population will be allowed to open completely, according to a CCSA meeting. In addition, the Phuket sandbox tourism model could be paused on short notice if infections spike to 90 cases per week. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha on Wednesday announced a 120-day deadline for the country to reopen to international tourists and the return of normal business conditions. However, at a CCSA meeting on Friday, the body noted the mid-October goal for reopening might not be achieved nationwide. We've learned from our first failed attempt to reopen Phuket to tourists last year that such a plan should have mutual agreement from the local community. The provincial government should make the evaluation on whether the province is ready to open to international tourists, said Tourism and Sports Minister Pitapat Ratchakapurhan. Mr. Pitapat said the Phuket sandbox will be the model for other provinces to follow, meaning each province must have 70% of its population vaccinated and 100% of their workers in the service sector inoculated. Each province must set up an administration centre for reopening with the help of the Tourism and Sports Ministry and the TAT to follow strict procedures, he said. The CCSA meeting also approved in principle opening the sealed routes on 3 islands, Koh Samui, Koh Phangan and Koh Tao, to join the reopening plan from July 15th. However, tourists from these areas will have to follow strict restrictions. Now, this goes back to the story of a few days ago where the Prime Minister came on live television at 6 p.m. in the evening on a Wednesday and announced to the country that Thailand has to reopen in 120 days, that it was for the good of the country and that we have to live with the virus and we will have more infections, but it's for the good of the country and the economy. Now, on Thursday, his spokesman came out and said that this was not a countdown to reopening, but just an idea in principle. And then Friday now we have them coming out with more regulations in relation to this. And in my opinion, they're trying to roll back what the Prime Minister said. So it makes you wonder what he was doing out on live TV on a Wednesday announcing that the country was going to fully reopen to people on October 1. It seems like nobody has any knowledge of what this guy is up to. And for me, I agree with the idea that we should reopen on October 1, that the country needs to do it under safe precautions, of course, and probably at the beginning vaccinated travellers only. But you can't instill confidence in the tourism industry in travellers when you're constantly changing everything you say. So one minute you're saying you're going to do this and the next minute you're changing it. So, well, it's not a countdown now, it's just a principle, just an idea. And then the next day it's suddenly, you need to have 70% vaccinated. Every province cannot have 70%. People are moving between provinces all the time, People are going, some people live, let's say, in Krabi and work in Pattaya or Nakhon Si Thammarat. They're always moving around. And the idea that you're ever going to have 70%. Also, to have 70% by October 1 would mean a lot of children between the age of 12 and 18 would have to be vaccinated as well. So, there's a lot of things to do here. For me, I truly believe that if you want to reopen, you reopen, but you reopen to vaccinated travellers at the beginning. And you have one COVID test prior to arrival. And that's it. And let people, we have COVID in Thailand. It's not as if people are coming to a country that's COVID free. We have a minimum, or, at the moment, an average of about 3,000 cases a day with about 20 to 30 deaths. It's probably a lot more in the cases because, outside the capital and areas like this, there is not mass testing. So, it all depends what areas you're in and whether or not you're testing or not. I'd say the true numbers are probably double that. So it's not a case that there's no COVID and that a tourist who happened to be infected even after being vaccinated would be spreading it. If it's already here, there's more chance of you catching it here than bringing it in my opinion. So these are the things they need to get their head around, and they need to start focusing on giving correct information to the public, to the private and public sector, to people who want to invest, hoteliers and all that. Because, without that proper information, nobody's ever going to get anything done and the country will never reopen properly. Tour bodies present big Pattaya plan. 8 major tourism associations in Pattaya have proposed a plan to reopen Pattaya on August 1 to Chonburi Governor to restore travel and the tourism-focused economy. Chairat Ratapanas, president of the Eastern Spa and Wellness Association in Pattaya, said on Saturday he was among those who met Chonburi Governor recently. Mr. Chairat said the tourism representative asked the governor, who is also the chairman of the Provincial Controlled Disease Committee, to set up a panel to mull their proposals to reopen Pattaya. They proposed the Seal Route Tourism Reopening Plan, part of the Pattaya Move On project run by the Pattaya City, the Tourism Authority of Thailand, and the private sector. He said the reopening plan is expected to take place in August 1. The Seal Route Plan will determine the kind of tourists places and routes which will be included to ensure safety while reopening, which will be limited in controlled areas. COVID-19 has affected the city for 2 years and forced 80% of service businesses to close down entirely, he said. He said Pattaya's geography was different from other tourism cities such as Phuket and Samui, which are islands and can be managed within a sandbox scheme. The SEAL route plan would allow vaccinated visitors to travel across Chonburi's 2 districts of the mainland, Banglamung and Satip, within sensible safeguards. He said the association also wanted the committee to determine measures to comply with the amazing Thailand Safety and Health Administration and the standard SOP to ensure safety and service quality in hotels and in the districts. Most importantly, 70% of the people in Pattaya must be vaccinated to create herd immunity. Some 900,000 doses of vaccine are needed to inoculate 450,000 people. He said he has also asked the Provincial Committee of the Centre for COVID Situation Administration, CCSA, to forward the plan to reopen Pattaya to the CCSA's Central Committee for consideration. The SEAL route plan ideally would start in August and test the prevention systems before the high season October begins, he said. If the plan cannot be implemented by high season, more operators will face losses, he said. So, as you can see, everybody's trying to get on board the reopening plan, but I think there needs to be time to see how the Phuket model actually works and whether or not we have a surge in cases, whether or not tourists actually like it, which I don't think they really will. And I don't think tourists want to be confined to only certain districts in a city. People don't travel 12 to 15 hours on a plane to be only told you can go here and here and that's it. So all these things, are not really in the realms of reality, in my opinion. I just don't get it. It seems, I know they're desperate for business, but if you want business, then you need to just open the country up and allow people in. Now, if we're going to say, okay, allow people in vaccinated, fair enough. If that's what we have to do at the beginning, that's what needs to be done. But this continuous idea that you're going to be controlling everything that tourists are doing, what they can see, where they can go, is not going to bring many people here. People want the freedom to choose what and where they want to go. This isn't China. And I think they're really, I know that I understand that they need the business, but they also need to start looking from the tourism point of view and the tourist point of view. And that's just not coming into it right now. And there is going to be a lot of disappointment, in my opinion, when they do reopen and they find very few people are coming. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. We are available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.